on here is a little bit of custom work for a buddy. We're working on a backstrap for a Canik MC9. I'm going to turn off the heater here. Hold on just a second. Sorry about that. So what we got going on here is Caniks come with 3 different size back straps. There's a kind of a medium, large, and then a kind of an extra large. And the back strap is actually removable. You can kind of see the part line right there. This one has a stipple job on it. Beam Creations LLC out of Minnesota did the stipple work. So what we got going on here is initially everything was cut down very, very far, about a 1/4 of an inch cut down. It was filled, and then now we're doing some reshaping and just kind of some finish work on this. So what I got going on here is some 3M panel bonding adhesive. Sorry. There we go. So 3M panel bonding adhesive 04240. And I literally just took applicator gun, squeeze a little bit on a piece of paper. We're ready to rock and roll, right? And so this stuff has about call it a 1-minute work time. And then it's got about a 20-minute time until you can sand it. And, you know, we are very clear, just so you guys know. So what I'm going to be doing with this is pulling this drill bit out. And the drill bit was covered with just some regular cellophane tape, like packing tape. That way nothing's going to stick. And then I also wrapped some cellophane tape around the actual mount hardware where this goes through. So let's see if this actually comes out like I thought it was going to come out. And it does. Came out just perfect. So now I've still got the hole locator there. See if I can show you guys. There we go. So I still have the hole for the assembly dowel pin, which is right there. And now with any luck, this is going to pop right off. This might be more difficult than I think it is. Okay, come on. Might need to get a razor blade to help just separate that seam. Hold on just a second here. So this is one of the kind of tricks of the trade when you're doing custom fabrication work. You know, this panel bonding adhesive is super, super, super awesome stuff. You can use it for all sorts of fun projects. Like I said, for this project, since we're reshaping polymer, this is the perfect application because it sticks to almost everything. I'm going to try to catch the edge just right underneath this seam here. And I want to be a little bit careful because I don't want to screw this up, if you know what I mean, right? So we're going to follow that tape line with the razor blade. I'm going to gently pry up on this. Hopefully the back strap comes off with not a lot of effort here. I'm not trying to force it so much. There we go. Now it's starting to come up. So there we go. Just like so. So there we go. You can see our packing tape worked perfect. Just like that. A little bit of residue on there still. What this is for is, like I said, normally these have multiple back straps, and some of them are fairly large. So on this one, we took the biggest back strap, and like I said, we filled the entire back strap with 3M panel bonding adhesive. That would be this stuff. And then did a rough shaping on it. Now I am shaping kind of some of the details in here. So I gotta take this cellophane tape out here. nothing sticks to cellophane tape, just so you know. So whether it's epoxy or fiberglass resin or any sort of jaded weld, etc., nothing sticks to panel, nothing sticks to packing tape. So, okay, so there's our little bit of flash. I'm going to take our razor blade and just gently trim that back as far as I can by hand. There shouldn't be a ton of it there. There's always a little bit of extra when you're doing filler work, but there we go. Comes off fairly easily here. One of the tools that I swear by in my shop is my Milwaukee right angle grinder. And I will show you why in just a second. First of all, I'm going to get this out of the way here. I'm just going to lightly start hitting this with the grinder. Milwaukee says that this is not for use with a 3-inch, and I have absolutely no problem using this with a 3-inch. I do use the XC 5.0 battery on it. That went through just a little bit further than I wanted to, I think. We'll see. Again, we're going back and forth here. So there is a mount bracket right there, as you see. And that mount bracket does poke through the back hole right there just a little bit. Or at least it's going to. We're trying to make this as flat as possible. There's a good side angle now. So normally this grip extension has a pretty big bump on it. We are literally shaving that as flat as we can get that sucker. This is more designed for people with smaller hands. And if this works right, we are going to have a brand new product that will be available soon. So you can see what's happening there. It's really flattening out the back of that. I don't want to overdo this. We're going to just kind of take our time and go nice and slow with this. I can always fill more if I need to, but... we're not going to try to do any more fill work if we don't have to. Pretty close, I think. I'm going to switch to hand sanding here pretty soon, so you can see definitely what that's doing though. It's a pretty flat back. I still have the hole for the pin. We're getting there. We are getting there. I think this is actually a pretty good point to switch over. Very gentle touch with our grinder. Very, very gentle touch with our grinder. One trick of the trade, if you guys decide to get one of these Milwaukees, is take the safety off. It makes it way, way easier to turn on and keep it a low RPM. So that's a trick of the trade right there. But we are getting pretty close now, right? And so this is a pretty good point, I guess, to switch over to hand sanding. I've got a couple different sandpaper abrasives here. I've got some what is this, 80 grit? 80 grit Sia. And I've also got some 180 grit. So 80 grit Sia is going to be just fine for what we're doing right now. Little trick of the trade too, you can take your sandpaper and run it over something flexible, like a Bondo spreader, if you want to create a nice flexible long block. That'll help you get around those radiuses a little bit better. Nice and slow. We're going nice and slow on this one. Again, we're trying not to add any more filler after this stage. If I can help it, I will put a primer coat on it, give it a little bit of texture, and then make a mold of it, put it that way. Flip it over, let's do the other side a little bit. This side's got a little bit more residue hanging out than the other side did. So this is something that you can do by yourself for a side project if you want, or hire a fabricator to do it for you too. Somebody like me. There we go. We're getting pretty close. And see, what's going to happen here is this is really going to sit further back in somebody's hand. So you can see where my knuckles are up in the front here and how much that wraps around. For somebody with a smaller hand, this is going to be a game changer in terms of just overall feel. We're getting close. Let me pop this backstrap back up again. Gonna do a little bit of hand sanding on this. This is going to be a little bit different color than the stock polymer that comes on these, so I can kind of tell when I'm at a stopping point. You can see that hard line coming through right on that edge there. And that's where the stock polymer is, so we're going to stop right there so we don't go too far. And again, I can add a little bit of filler primer if I really need to, but I'm going to try not to on this one. We're going to try to finish it all in one shot here. Trying to keep the camera not shaky. Sorry about that if it's a little shaky for you guys. And again, I'm using 80 grit right now just to kind of rough that shape in. I will kind of refine this just a little bit off camera because I need to use some extra parts here to make sure that everything lines up correctly, but we are not going to do that on the YouTubes. We'll do that after all the main shaping is done here. I'm trying to roll the paper as I'm sanding here, right? So there is a natural curve to this, just with the shape of that. We're just going to try to keep that as best as possible. And that's where your sanding utensils come into play. I also have a regular Bondo spreader here. And the regular Bondo spreader's got a little bit more flex to it, so I can put some sandpaper on that and get a really nice radius. I'll show you here. I typically like to use a sandpaper with a sticky back. Like so. And now this is going to flex just a little bit so I can get a nice radius around there. So far, this little project is kind of an unknown. We saw a potential market with, like I said, people with smaller hands, women, or even men for that matter, that just weren't gripping up far enough. So this is going to help. This is going to help immensely when it comes to control and usability. And again, I've been able to keep that stock hole there for the dowel pin to locate, so every once in a while I just got to keep that cleaned out. From all sorts of debris. There is going to be some final testing on this. I have a few people at the local range that will put this in the hands of and get some outside opinions on this before we go into production. I'm going to try to trim up this opening just a little bit with the razor blade. I don't need to open it up too far. We want there to be a little bit of meat on that panel bond adhesive there. Should have got an X-Acto blade instead. That would have been a little bit easier than this carpet blade. Hold on a second. I'm actually going to go get an X-Acto blade here. So yeah, we're getting there though. You can see that stock mount tab is still pretty far back, so we're going to pull another, I don't know, 1/16 of an inch off the bottom side there. We'll see what happens. Hold on hold on 2 seconds. Got my X-Acto blade back, and I'm just going to follow kind of where that stock opening is. We'll pull this back just a little bit from here. Come on. This urethane is pretty soft at this point still. Like I said, it says that it's got about a 20-minute to sand open time, and I probably should have left it for closer to an hour before I started working with it. But so you can see that we're still sitting pretty far back on the flush edge here, right? And so I'm going to keep sanding because I really want this to be as tight as I can possibly get it here. I think I'm even just going to hit this with the grinder real quick. There we go. Now we're getting there. That's where we wanted it. Took out just enough there. I'll come back and clean up this little rough patch here. I might need to sand this. We'll see. There's not a lot of material here. It's pretty thin, so might need to refine that once it's a little bit more cured. That's okay. Take our sandpaper here. And again, I'm just dealing with 80 grit sandpaper right now to kind of do some rough shaping. Hopefully, this works as good as we think it's going to work. And then I get to show you guys how to make a mold and how to do an injection mold for this, because there is such a thing as getting polymer and being able to cast pour liquid polymer to make your own parts. So as long as you know how to make a mold, you can make your own parts. And I'm pretty good at silicone mold making, so. All right, let's see how this is shaping along. I think we're getting pretty close. Pretty darn close. So you can see in the back of that, that's extremely flat now. It has very little bump compared to the stock backstrap. And the stock backstrap actually sits, like I said, about 1/4 of an inch further than this does. So again, once we get our hand in there, and we can actually wrap the fingertips significantly further than you would be able to normally. So, yeah, we're getting there. We are getting there. Got to do a little bit of shaping on this back corner here. You can already see that that's a little bit too flat. Get our fancy Bondo spreader here. And this is just kind of a prototype. We're going to refine this a little bit more so it's a little bit more dialed in, but we wanted to do a proof of concept before we go completely crazy and develop this on a full scale. We're getting pretty close. As long as you're patient, you'll get there. You can see I'm trying to make sure I don't touch the actual, grip area because we don't need to scratch that up. Come at it from this side a little bit more. I think we're pretty darn close. Really darn close. So what I'm going to do now is take our pin and send that home and see what happens here. There we go. That's locked in place. A little bit of a love tap. And there we go. It's getting pretty darn close. Need to do a little bit more refining here and there. You can see that side's poking through just a hair. We'll sand that out just a tiny bit more on that side. And again, that's the nice thing about some of these panel bonding adhesives is they're just slightly different colors. So depending on when you sand on these and what you're using, you can kind of use those different colors as a reference in terms of staying accurate side to side. And again, this is just kind of a prototype one at this point, but it's going to be pretty darn close to what the real deal is going to be. I think we're in business. What do you guys think? I think that's significantly narrower than what it originally was. Backstrap looks really, really good. And it feels good too. So hopefully this is going to make a difference for some people and have a very, very large improvement for them. So there we go. There's your little how-to trick of the trade Friday night special. Let's call it that. So unless you guys have any more questions, there we go. You got your 3M panel bonding adhesive. You got your sandpaper, and there's a little bit of creativity, and that's all she wrote. What do I say? So anyway, have a great Friday night. I'll catch you guys out later. Stay tuned for the progress on this. It's gonna, I don't know, hopefully work, and you can watch them get developed, watch the parts get developed, and then if you have one of these, feel free to let me know and I'll hook you up. So have a great one.